Hi, my name's Anthony Guardia, and I want to welcome you to this very special presentation of WCAT and the Boys and Girls Clubs of Wakefield and Stoneham. We're here with our brand new Wakefield director, Bethany Riley. Hi, Bethany.
Hello.
So welcome to Wakefield. We're so happy to have you here. The reason we're having this show is to introduce you to the community, talk a little bit to us about all the exciting things going on at the club, and kind of just tell us a little bit about your background. So let's start. What brought you to Wakefield? Why are you here? Not in existence, just for the club.
Well, I currently reside in Dorchester. I was working at a Boys and Girls Club in South Boston. And then just from my cousin, actually, Officer Kelly Tobine, if you're out there watching.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. She is the SRO at the Galvin School, and she knows you and Adam, spoke very highly of you too, and mentioned that there was a position open at the Wakefield Club. So just, wanting to, I'm from the North Shore, grew up all around the North Shore, and just wanting to kind of get back to this area and continue working with kids. Just kind of took a chance and met you guys and fell in love with, the ideas and the promise of so much opportunity and of growth that is going to happen with the club.
No, and I won't put you on the spot, because we know the answer. Who does Officer Tobin like better, me or Adam? But, so anyway, what I do want to talk to you about a little bit, because I think it's so interesting, the Boys and Girls Club of Wakefield, while it's part of the Stoneham Club, it's a conglomerate, and Stoneham has been around for 40 years, the Wakefield Club has only been around for, this is our third year. And it's grown exponentially, which is great. But I think it goes back to your point of all the exciting and all the promise, because it is a blank slate. We can really develop a club in whatever image we can see. There's no preconceived notions of what the club is, only potential for what it will be. So I want to ask you, do you have any ideas? You've only been here for 2 weeks, but do you have any ideas on what you want to bring to the club, what you would like to see it become if you were just complete, had a wish list, could do whatever you wanted.
Oh, man.
What? And remember,
money.
we only have a half hour, but brief synopsis. What do you see the Boys and Girls Club of Wakefield turning into?
So again, the reason I took this position is exactly that reason. I'm super excited to be here. What's really cool is that there is kind of a blank slate, and there is so much opportunity, and that's opportunity is the key word that I think we should concentrate on, because anything from there are different socioeconomic classes in Wakefield to, just accessibility, whether it's, one of the programs I started in the South Boston Club was a wheelchair basketball team, and that was for kids that are unable to play on other teams because they're, confined to a wheelchair. So just creating opportunity for anybody and everybody to be a part of a community. And what's awesome about Wakefield, in my 2 weeks, you are kind of not like the mayor of Wakefield, but everybody. You've introduced me to so many people. It's such a great community that, with everybody that I've met, we're already partnering with, veterans. We're already creating so many events that extend beyond the walls. And so just giving access to the kids to learn from, the great minds of the community and to see what else is out there. That's what I'm excited to bring.
I think you're absolutely right in the sense that potential and that collaboration. I mean, there are some towns, even some neighboring towns, not Stoneham, but a few others where I know there are some turf battles where you can't work with them because they don't work with you. And I always joke that sometimes, the negativity you see in Wakefield, you would consider nothing in another community. It wouldn't even be a blip on the radar because of some of the nastiness they have. And that's the embracing part of Wakefield. That's why I think you see so many teachers, administrators, educators, police officers spend their career here because of what you just mentioned. Let's go to the best part of the job, the kids. Mm-hmm. And specifically, before we started the show, we actually FaceTimed with some of them, and it seems like they're already taking a shine to you. What's your, you're not going to say anything negative. This is such a softball question, by the way. What are your initial, or you could surprise us all, What are your initial impressions of the kids, of the members? What do you think their initial impressions of you are? And just to the corollary to all that is, three-part question here. Sorry for everything.
Gotta write this down.
Is what do you think the difference is, the main difference is, coming from such an urban environment to a town like Wakefield?
Oh man, this is a very loaded question. So we'll start with, just my initial take on the kids. They're a riot. They're hilarious. Like, I have been laughing so much with them and learning with them. And, what I've said to them, because what we talked about is that the club is growing and it is 3 years old, but at the same time, like, my goal is to work with them to build an identity together and have it be, second home is a phrase that a lot of times people talk about with the Boys and Girls Club, but it's more than that. Have it be, a community for them and a place that they feel welcome. And so I think, just in the couple weeks that I've gotten to know them, like we said, they're already FaceTiming me, asking certain things. I've joked around with the parents a lot as far as, like, I've really enjoyed getting to know them. I'm not sure I'm their favorite person yet, just because I'm instituting some rules and trying to get structure to the programming so that I can eventually beef up the programming and, really make an impact on, in different levels with them. So just putting a little bit more structure around it. They were FaceTiming me to ask if they could use the computers for games or what they could do. So they're getting used to it. It's taken a little while. I think if we do something 3 months down the line, I'll be able to say, we all love each other. I'm not sure I'm there yet, that they're there with me, but I'm excited, to work with them.
Well, and I'll jump in before we get to the last part of that question, is that I think for the longest time, especially in Wakefield, we didn't know necessarily what we even meant by Boys and Girls Club. So, being involved in the committee that brought it, we did have some Boys and Girls Club alumni, but we didn't know what type of club we'd have. And we've ran into a series of, with the exception of one, fortunate incidents with our club directors. So, we jokingly say whoever becomes club director in Wakefield gets a lot of good luck in their lives. So you're the fourth club director in 3 years. And the reason for that, people have talked about, I don't think there's, is our first club director, Gene, great guy. Unfortunately, he did have a small accident. He had to leave and retire a bit early, but, got the club started. But the other two, first gentleman got a great job in Florida to be closer to his family. Mike, if you ever watch this, hi, hope all is well. Then Sean, the interim club director who came in, his girlfriend, longtime girlfriend, got into a wonderful master's program on scholarship at Northwestern University.
Awesome.
Yeah, so she's doing incredible things. So they moved out to Chicago. So two of them left for good reason. So now we have you coming in, hopefully for the long term.
My family's around here, not very tightly estranged with someone, so.
No, it is. So yeah, so you're not moving to Florida
Not
or
moving
Chicago.
to Florida, not moving either way. So,
but I think when you talk about structure, for the longest time, when you have those many club directors, we didn't have the ability to say what is our long-term plan, because you have somebody going to Florida, you have somebody going to Chicago, you don't have somebody who can lay down that vision.
Yep.
Now we do. So let me bring it up to the question that what do you think is the biggest difference between the kids? Because you think of Dorchester, you think of Boston, you think of the clubs, you think of people who you even said this, and I think it's just so fascinating and makes us appreciate what we have. In those clubs, you may not have the parent involvement that you do here. Do you think the parent involvement is probably the biggest difference, or do you think there are other things?
I'm only 2 weeks in, but I think, that is probably one of the biggest. Just parents that are interested in being a part of things. And so, like, we talked about how friendly everyone is here. I thought I was on candid camera when I first started. Like, everyone was coming around, like, not that people brought fruit baskets, but it felt like that, where everyone was just so nice. And, not that I've been around mean people before, but it was so welcoming. The parents have been the same way, which is incredible. It's not what I'm used to. I'm used to having to chase down parents.
And you mentioned that you were even an emergency contact for some of these kids.
I'm still an emergency contact for a couple of the kids in the city, just because their parents, they're literally raising themselves. Their parents aren't there. So with that said, there's the parent involvement, and then it's also just, I think there's a lot of positive things that we can do within the setting of a Boys and Girls Club. And I think it's slightly different here. I've had some funny, instances that the way I would react to things in the city, I thought was a massive deal here because they had led to, some issues in the city. And then it was just, it was a videotaping thing, essentially, with the kids. They were videotaping each other. And when that would happen in the city, someone would post it online. There'd be a big bullying thing online. Someone would get jumped, something like that, within 5 minutes. It was this massive ordeal. These poor, awesome, innocent 11-year-old girls were videotaping each other on my day 2, and I freaked out and was like, don't do that, you can't do that. Had a whole ordeal with them. They come and talk to me later. They're like, we just really like to videotape. We're super artsy. Talk to me about all this stuff. So there's just a few learning curve as far as society and what the kids' interests are. And I think also just knowing that every person has their own struggles or things that we need to improve on. I have a ton that I need to improve on. I always tell the kids the amount of times I say sorry in one day, I can't even count, just because it's, a good lesson for them. But, in the city, it's so evident, if it's poverty, if it's they come hungry. Here, it's more, breaking down, the issues are slightly different. Everybody has things, I went to Pingree in Hamilton, Mass., so a private high school. I have a great family who is still, they'll probably get many tapes of this and play it at Christmas or whatever. So they're still super supportive. But my coaches and my mentors are the people that I really think made me who I am today, alongside my parents. So no matter if it's very evident that you have, you don't have clothes that fit, or you don't have food to eat, which was, the deal in the city, or it's you do have access to things, there's always things that other mentors can help provide.
Well, and that actually brings us to the Boys and Girls Club in Wakefield. And one thing we talk about a lot is that it is more hidden in the suburbs. So, for example, you don't see, if somebody's homeless, they're homeless, but they might be couch surfing. It's not, you don't see the homeless kid on the street. If somebody has an addiction issue, it's battled in private. You may not, again, you're probably not seeing somebody shoot up into the side of a neighborhood. And so the issues are there. They're probably not as prevalent, I think that's fair to say, but they are there. And they are things that we need to work on. And it all ties back to the Boys and Girls Club mission, which is what makes me so passionate about it and why I love what we do. Compared to, our friends at the Y or other nonprofits, and everybody does good work, but I'm just going to pick on the Y here, and I don't mean to. I love the Y. I have a lot of friends who work at the Y, but a YMCA is a membership-based program. They make their money by signing up for a gym, signing up for a class. What we do, which is so unique, is basically we don't turn people away. You come to us either when you're at your best or when you're at your worst, and the fee for a year to join our club is $25 for the entire year. And if you can't afford the $25, we still don't turn you away. The whole point of the $25 isn't even a way to raise money. The point of the $25 is so that a child can have ownership of the club and that they themselves could afford it if they needed to, by doing a paperwork, by working 2 hours at the club, by doing something. So we are just, our job is to make sure that kids have a safe place to go, a place where they can learn and they can grow. And the numbers back that up. I mean, the data we see shows us, better grades, more involvement, less risky behaviors. And to back up a bit, how did you get involved with the Boys and Girls Clubs in general?
Well, just to say a side note real quick on one of the things that you just spoke about, one of the first meetings that I did, we're really fortunate in the building that we're in to share it with some other organizations, one being the Food Pantry, which has been there forever, and it's great to have them right next door. There's, I went through some data with the women over there, and they serve 500 families and 162 children between the ages of 7 and 18.
Wow.
So we are not there yet as far as, reaching those kids, but that's one of the first things that I went to, is I want to figure out, where those kids are and how we can get them in. So that's definitely, there is a need across the board, across it. Boys and Girls Club is, like I said from the beginning, access. So it's for anybody and everybody, no matter what. So I think that I'm excited to tap into all the different populations within Wakefield. And then just to talk about how I got into this, I was originally pre-med. Wanted to do the whole Doctors Without Borders thing and got placed in a random education course. I went to Trinity College in Hartford and just got placed in the lowest performing school in Hartford and fell in love with working with kids. And, I've traveled the world. I've, worked with kids across the globe, and my family's here, so I ended up back in the city and, worked with a few nonprofits, and really after just talking with a bunch of people at the South Boston Boys and Girls Club, I got kind of bought into the atmosphere and the culture that a Boys and Girls Club and the opportunity that a Boys and Girls Clubs provide for not just the kids, but for the families in the neighborhood and the community. So I just started working there merely, I drank the Kool-Aid, basically. So I was working for a bunch of other places and drank the Kool-Aid completely just because I believe so much in the mission.
No, and that's, I gotta say, I think that's the same for me. I mean, when I saw it, and I was originally pulled in back in 2010 with the idea of starting a club. And we didn't know what to do, how to start, where we would even go. And, I didn't know anything about a Boys and Girls Club. I just thought it was a youth center, and it is a youth center, but it's so much more. And you start learning about why the open door policy, why you let kids come to, do everything, the importance of mentoring, the importance of programs, like SBIRT, programs like financial literacy. And you see at programs like the Veterans Program we're about to launch with Alicia Redden. Hi, Alicia. It is amazing. And now you yourself have actually a pretty unique side hobbies and whatnot. I shouldn't call them unique, but they're...
That makes me sound weird.
No, they're not unique, okay? I'll go back on this, all right? You don't actually have to edit this, Ryan. I'm going to keep going. Ryan is the guy in the back controlling the cameras. Hi, Ryan. He has already told me that I'm his favorite, just so you know.
Hey.
Anyway, so we're breaking down the fourth wall. Back on Adam and I wouldn't have this type of conversation. So to go back to this, when we were talking and just in general getting to learn about each other, one of the things that impressed me about you is your passion for fitness, your passion for boxing, your passion for personal training and the betterment of people. Do you want to talk? So you're not at the Boys and Girls Club. You're just hanging out at home. What are the things that motivate you outside the clubs?
Well, we'll speak first to fitness. I have a part-time job in the morning. I'm a personal trainer at a gym in Boston. Actually, George Foreman's gym, the third. There's like 8 of them. So George Foreman the third. The gym's in South Boston. You should come by. I actually originally, so I've always been interested in fitness. As I spoke to in the beginning, I was pre-med, and just how the body works fascinates me as far as, what we can do, our muscles. I love working out. I tried to wear a muscle shirt today, just to intimidate you guys. I'm kidding. But
For a second, I thought you were serious. Hey, but just so everybody knows, this is clear. I was actually trained to be a boxer, but they said my fists were just too deadly. I was banned from my boxing career. So
it's true. I've read about him.
Yeah, I did say.
So I teach boxing courses in the morning. I got into that originally, actually, because the Boys and Girls Club that I worked at in Boston, we partnered with the George Foreman gym. So I learned how to break down, the boxing form and format to teach little kids how to box. I now run still. The one thing I've pulled out of working at that Boys and Girls Club, but the one thing that I still do run is little kids free boxing on Sundays, just because I think, for me, fitness, as I spoke to a lot of the mentors that I had, my coaches, were people that really taught me a lot of the soft skills, the life skills that you can learn at a Boys and Girls Club. So leadership, dedication, even just, discipline, being able to follow certain rules and why. Like, they taught me the why on things, which is what the kids keep asking me is, well, why this rule? Why this? And I'll sit down and be like, to keep you safe. You need sneakers on in the gym because I've seen so many. I used to be an athletic director at the Boys and Girls Clubs in Boston, and I've seen so many broken toes, so many broken ankles. So just talking through those things. And what's awesome about boxing and fitness is that it's a physical discipline. So it's working your mind alongside with your body. So when I put the kids through, playing games or, physical side of things or the boxing portion of it, we really break everything down and always root it back to a leadership skill, always root it back to something that's more tangible is the wrong word, but something they can apply while they're in the classroom at school. They can apply while they're at home. I just think there's so many lessons in athletics specifically.
And I think you're right. Now, what do you tell, this isn't me. No, it totally is me. What do you tell the kids who aren't athletic, who aren't the ones who fit the mold, who, I played basketball from 5th grade to high school, never.
You wrestled. I met the wrestling
I've
coach.
wrestled. I did wrestle.
Great
Hi,
guy.
Coach Ross. But here's the thing. I wasn't good. I openly admit it. I never hit a basket. I was terrible wrestling. I got a little bit better as I got older. But, what do you tell the kids who don't fit that mold for athletics, who come in and may, be more interested in art or STEM or technology? Because here's one of the things, here's just an example. When you hit the game-winning shot in basketball or you have a great night at football, you get on the front page of, the Wakefield daily item. When you figured out how to build a computer on your own, you're nowhere. If you feel, when we do, so we're starting to think about doing hackathons and Minecraft games. How do you plug those, no pun intended here, how do you plug those kids in to make sure that they have a spot at our clubs?
Well, in my opinion, those are interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's, for me, it was sports growing up. But, for my brother, it wasn't sports growing up. For him, he did lighting and theater. He did do fencing. But he was part of the debate team. And, my parents, when we would sit down for family dinner, it was always the same questions no matter what we were interested in, no matter what we were involved in. And it was, they're interchangeable for me. Like, it's a lot easier for me right now to speak to athletics because that's my most, experience level. But at the club, we have a bunch of kids, like I said, with those 2 girls videotaping. I thought it was potentially a bullying thing. There's a massive, I want to tap into these guys here a little bit more because there's a massive grouping of kids that are super into film and super into technology. And even if I'm not the one that can provide that, I think I can do an awesome acting, every now and then. I've helped them out with that. But even if I'm not the one that can provide that, we can find someone who can. So that can mentor them in that skill and then just giving them, those accolades when they reach, the next level. So if it's learning how to build certain things, or we have an art showcase or whatever it is, it's putting them on a positive pedestal. It's easy to look at, the football player that throws a touchdown. Okay, it's easy to look at that. That's just very tangible. But it's just as easy to say, this grouping of boys and girls have been working for 4 weeks on an art display, and now we're having an art exhibit in the club. So they're interchangeable to me. It's just another vehicle, whether it's art or football or technology, another vehicle that we can use to reach the kids and use to relate with them. And what's awesome about some of the stuff is I don't know how to do it. So there's been a few things that I've learned alongside with the kids. And I'm like, I'm new here too. There's a bunch of new kids. I'm like, I'm new here too. Let's figure out how to do this computer program. Let's figure out how to do this. So it's a cool opportunity.
No, that is very cool. And I think that's one of the cool things, too, especially in Wakefield, with some of the kids who are growing up with the club. They saw us in our first year when we had no idea what was going on. They saw us as we were growing and, kind of getting out of those infant years. And I think that's just so interesting because so in Stoneham, you have generations of alumni. You have the police chief, the fire chief. You have your teachers. You have a whole generation of people who grew up at that club. And their club is was their second home, who just, know their staff member they connected with. I'm excited to see how that works in Wakefield. When we have the kid who was, I used to go down there every day and, hang out. I remember Riley. I remember Coach Riley. I remember Jamie. I remember playing X or Y. And that's the amazing thing that you can see in Stoneham, but you can't see in Wakefield yet just because we've only been around for 3 years. And it goes finally to the importance of it, and I know we only have 5 minutes left, is, we're open, during what's called those critical after-school hours. And I don't want to wrongly attribute this quote. It was either Dr. Mullen, I think, God rest her soul, or might have been Police Chief Smith. But basically one of them said something along the lines that always stuck with me, that the biggest issues we have are from 2 to 6 when it comes to young people, because that's the time, the critical after-school gap, where there's nobody supervising for a lot of young people. And, our job at the clubs is to fill that gap. Because if we can take care of them until you get home, until a parent gets home, we can really provide the best path forward. And even as we talk a lot about, the ongoing opiate epidemic, one of the things we heard was, you read the white papers, it's middle school age children who start drugs. Why? Majority of the reason is you're bored. So we fill in that gap. So with 4 minutes, as we start to wrap up, 4 minutes and 30 seconds, is there anything else you'd like the town of Wakefield to know about you? Is there anything else we haven't mentioned, anything else you'd like to add?
I think just the last thing that you said, filling that gap. I think what's awesome, especially about, Adam's vision and the board's vision is, and that's what sold me to come here, is, like, I'll give an instance, the idea that essentially the Boys and Girls Club is more than just 4 walls. It extends beyond. And so when we talk about, filling those critical hours, like building a community between the parents and what's going on at home and the schools. Like there was I wouldn't even call it an incident, a minor thing that happened at the club yesterday. And I called parents, talked with the parents, they came in, we met, and then I made a phone call over to the school just so that we all knew what was going on. And the kid's not in trouble, there's nothing, it was more just to support the kid. And what's awesome is that everybody's on the same page and we all extend so we can help the kid in every area that they're in. And I think that's one of the most important things of the club, and for people to know, is number one, that we're there, and number two, that we're there for those hours, the critical hours, but then, we want to make sure that the kids are successful across the board in all aspects.
No, it's true, and that's, I think we talk about this a lot at some of the national meetings where we talk about the vision of the Boys and Girls Club nationally, is that it's this institution that is part of the community that's making sure that a child can achieve the best future possible, because there is that kind of trinity of the school department, municipal office, and us making sure that they're okay. And then, of course, overarching everything is their own family. So I want to thank you. We have about 2 minutes left. So as we wrap up, I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank you for being on. I do have one very last question, most serious question of all. Who's been your most favorite person you met in Wakefield between the ages of 30 and 32, Italian, and wears nice Brooks Brothers suits?
Well, he's the same age as you, right?
Ryan's not that good looking at it. He's charismatic.
All right.
That's me. No, thank you. All right, so thank you for watching. Thank you, WCAT, for having us. If you'd like to learn more about the club, bgcwakefield.org. Mm-hmm. That's bgcwakefield.org. Or just swing on by. Make sure to check in. We're at the AmeriCal Civic Center on Main Street, side entrance. And what hours are the best for people to come in if they ever just want to come and see what we're doing? If a young person or a young family wants to come in.
It's not chaotic is the wrong word, but I definitely would come if it's a young family and they want to see it in action. I would come between 2 and 6 just to see all the programs and the staff interacting with the kids and the kids having a good time. So I definitely, if you're here to check out the programming, come between that time. If you need to set up a meeting, I will be having a parents meeting as well. Sent that email out, so make sure people come so they can give me their input on some stuff. But if you want to just set a meeting with me, feel free to come by and we can talk off record and not during programming. That's also an option as well.
No, perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Riley. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, guys.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.